Hey guys, Jess here, and today I wanted to do a video about why I started homeschooling and kind of touch base on why I pretty much started my channel and why I started doing daily vlogs. People, I wanted to document our lives and document the new journey that we are now experiencing and now kind of going through. I am also hoping that my videos may reach someone that is kind of going through the situation that I just came out of, and I'm hoping that maybe my videos can help encourage and inspire those who are questioning homeschool and kind of are on the fence about it. I am not claiming to be an expert at homeschooling whatsoever. I am not affiliated with anything. I'm not promoting anything. I just wanted to share my personal story and my personal experiences with the world. So the reason I started homeschooling, my two boys, Kavian and Siler, were being swallowed by the system. They both have special needs and they're both on the spectrum. As far as labels go, Kavian been diagnosed with Asperger's, and Siler has been diagnosed as developmentally delayed with autistic tendencies. So we're still in the process of getting a diagnosis for him. But really at this point, with us not in school, it's really not a big deal. I know that he's on the spectrum, so we just go with his needs. I'm going to try to start kind of back at the beginning and go pretty quickly through everything. So if I don't go into much depth and you want to know more about a certain thing, please feel free to comment below and I will answer as best as I can. So when Kavian started school is when we first started noticing that something was kind of going on, something was different, as they say. And it was very rough. He didn't transition well, he didn't adjust well, he didn't get along with the children very well, or the teacher for that matter. And I ended up in pre-K having to go half days with him just so he could finish out the day. And then from then on, school kind of went downhill from there. My husband at the time was in the Army, and we were stationed down in Fort Benning, Georgia. And we kind of had to deal with the whole DoD school, which is completely different than a regular state public school. And it was really scary. The staff was somewhat helpful and they pointed me in the direction of going to see a psychologist. So I took him there and he visited and did his initial appointment. And he said to me, you know, I'm seeing one or two things here. I'm seeing ADHD or I'm seeing Asperger's. He said, but the ADHD can really be a part of Asperger's. And I'm thinking to myself, Asperger's, like, what is that? I've never heard of such a word before. And so I went home and I started researching, and I pulled up like the symptoms or signs, whatever you want to call them, and I thought to myself, wow, this is my child. Like, to a T, someone must be spying on me in my home because this is exactly my child to a T. So at the age of 5, he was diagnosed with Asperger's. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew that he was still struggling in school. We did try medication, which I'm not going to go into. Medication is the choice of your doctor and you as a parent, and to me, you do what works. Currently, we are not on any types of medication, none of my children, and that works for us at this current point in time. But I feel like you do what's best for you and your family, and that's for you to decide with your doctor. So we were in Georgia for a couple of years. Kavian ended up pretty much repeating kindergarten because they don't allow them to repeat pre-K, and he still struggled. And we ended up coming back to North Carolina, and the school that we were at pretty much told us that they couldn't serve him there. So we ended up moving again to another school. This is sort of a pattern with public schools. They kind of, not all schools in my state can meet the needs of a child, so you kind of bounce around, which for a child with autism is not necessarily a good thing. So we ended up at this new school, and it was a struggle, but things started to come together. He ended up being placed in a self-contained classroom, in an AU classroom. Although he wasn't getting sent home all the time, at the time I didn't realize what we were exchanging for the price of going into a self-contained. We were then exchanging the price of not getting valuable teacher instructional time. He began to move at a slower pace than his other peers in a regular setting. Siler entered pre-K, and again it was kind of like the same cycle. It was not adjusting well, he would have fits, scream for hours, and Siler then went into kindergarten and Kavian went into 4th grade, I believe. Yeah, 4th grade. During this period of time, they were trying to transition Kavian back into a regular classroom. He was going in 3rd grade, I think up to 3 hours, 4 hours a day in a regular setting. And they slowly transitioned him in. And he was doing okay. And then by 4th grade, he was pretty much transitioned into a regular classroom. The mix of the teacher and the other staff members that were working with him were perfect. And if I could have just kept them the whole way, my child would still be in public school, but that's not realistic, right? Siler, he continued to struggle in kindergarten. He didn't want to participate, kind of went through almost the exact same thing. And then we moved. And that move was kind of the changing point for us, and ultimately led to the decision of his homeschooling. We moved into a county that I didn't realize didn't have any services for my children whatsoever. And things went sour really fast. Upon meeting the teachers at the beginning of the year, especially for Kavian, I noticed that they really didn't have any educational background, any kind of training, or nor had they ever, which was hard for me to believe, dealt with someone with Asperger's or on the spectrum in their classroom. Either that or they were lying to me. And they didn't really seem interested in trying to figure out my child or get to know him or what would work best for him. I remember giving them lots of suggestions and trying to put them in connections with people that had worked with him prior, and they just really didn't care. They didn't care. Siler, it was a struggle. We kind of lucked out with Siler because the teacher's aide that was in there with him really connected with him, really bonded with him. And as a matter of fact, she still stays in touch with him today, and she comes and visits me. Actually, tomorrow she'll be visiting us. So she was really great with him, and that helped. With that said, though, if she wasn't there, we had outbursts. Phone calls started. I was getting phone calls every day to come pick them up, especially with Kavian. Every day. He was getting suspended left and right for having outbursts, for running. It was just at a point where I remember just crying every day. I had no idea what I was going to do. So I went to the social worker at the school and I said, listen, I need help. No one's helping me. I don't know what to do. My kid's got all F's. He's failing. He's getting sent home all the time. What do I need to do? She said, you have 3 options. You can do homebound. We can send him to this Mind and Soul School, which is kind of like a behavioral charter school, or you can homeschool. So the first thing I wanted to do was fight for the homebound. So homebound, if you don't know what that is pretty much like a medical leave from school, and you pretty much do public school at home. And then you're allotted a certain amount of teacher time per week where the teacher will come to your home and they'll give instructional time, and you turn in all your work and you're still in the system, but you're at home. At school, I was denied homebound. I was really never given much of a reason why, other than I definitely wasn't wanting to send him to this charter school. I didn't like the sound of it. I didn't like it. Looking into it, I didn't think it was a fit for him. And so then I decided to homeschool. I really had no other choice. So I was kind of thrusted into homeschooling. I had to kind of come up with everything very, very fast. And I can't tell you the amazing changes that are occurring within my home. And that's really why I wanted to start daily vlogging, was to document those changes. I have seen my children become totally different people. I had an 11-year-old coming home every day crying and not understanding why he was being bullied. And not only was he being bullied by children, but I do believe that he was being bullied by teachers and staff as well. Their lack of understanding and pretty much lack of caring. For Siler, it was a rough transition, but I knew the path that we were headed. We were moving out of that county back into, and he was going to be entering self-contained. And I felt like he was going to head down the same path as Kavian. And I just didn't want to go through that again. And so I feel like homeschooling was the best option for my children and my family overall. Things around here are a lot more relaxed. We're still adjusting to homeschool. And so I'm still adjusting myself to the mindset of homeschooling, because I feel like you're doing something wrong when you first start homeschooling, because I was public schooled as a child, so I never met a child that was homeschooled, and I don't know anything about it. I'm still learning. But I can tell you that the change has been wonderful for my children and for me. And so that's going to wrap it up for this video. I didn't want to make the video too long. I wanted to cover as much as possible without rambling on and on. So if you have any questions, feel free to comment in the link below. Also check out the description box below for a link to our daily vlogs, as well as for my Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. Thanks for watching, guys.